Hey everybody, how's it going? This is Juan Martinez with This Is Real.
And Stephanie Ray.
Man, Stephanie, let me tell you something. Every single week, we get artists, we get we haven't had cooks yet. I mean, you cook, but you know what I'm saying? The goal is to get fashion, cooking.
Yeah.
Because I think, that's what it's supposed to be. We're supposed to almost take over. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like take over. You want to have some Christian news reporters. Yeah. You want to have music industry where there's some integritous people. I mean, who doesn't want a good...
like you said, in every industry, right?
Yes.
So whatever you're gifted at, whatever you're ministering in, whatever it looks like, it doesn't have to be a church, doesn't have to be music.
Yeah, man.
Every kind of creative.
Yes, I believe that. I think like good bankers, everything. There should be everything. Fashion designers. Because that's where you get the integrity, man.
Yeah.
That's just a good integritous mechanic where you know what I'm saying. Where you're gonna take your car and everything gets fixed. But here's the thing: we're so excited that a lot of people have been like sending us letters. They've been like subscribing to our YouTube channel, checking out our podcast. I mean, this thing is growing.
Yes, praise
growing.
God.
I'm excited
multiple
about
cities.
it. Multiple cities. Oh yeah. Because now check it out. I know that we started off in Houston, 100.7 FM. From 9 to 10, right? And then we're also in Dallas, 100.7 FM. That's our family over there. Oh no, Houston 7 to 8.
Yeah.
Dallas 9 to 10, and then now we're in Austin on Sundays from 3 to 4.
Yep. And we're reaching Oklahoma.
We're reaching all the way to Oklahoma. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's just the grace of God, right? Like don't you dare quit, right? Because how does a guy almost 10 years in prison, 23 years of addiction, and all kinds of crazy stuff, and all of a sudden now we're on the radio preaching the gospel all over the planet?
Yeah.
That's incredible to me.
That's just God.
That's crazy.
That's crazy. That's God.
Yeah, man. So don't forget to like, subscribe. The clothing line is coming out really good. We are Heavicans, right? We got to say it loud and proud. We're citizens of heaven. So it's just, I don't know. It's a great season. Even though a lot of chaos.
Open doors, a lot of moving parts, but ultimately, it's the souls that are being saved through everything, through the radio, through the YouTube channel, through all the letters of everyone who is in prison that's writing us, and those are just so touching and moving also. So
if you want to write us, at the end of the show, we always give all those outlets where you can write us and stuff, and some people be like, so we got some hot music because we do the heavy hitter. There's always a heavy hitter, and I love it when the heavy hitter is also the person we're interviewing, because not only do you hear the music, but you get to see inside the person.
Yeah.
And we keep it real.
Yeah, because this is real.
This is real, so we keep it real. We keep it real.
Authentic all the way through.
Yes, because I believe that's this whole we're doing all this stuff is not really boasting on us. It's boasting on what God is doing in our lives according to our past, right?
Yeah.
So I love when I have somebody on there that's starting this fresh new company, all kinds of stuff. I love that. Yeah. And so let's not wait any longer. Let's introduce to our guests. You go ahead and do the introduction.
So today we have with us the amazing, super talented, multiple titles, gifts, and all of that. The incredible V.Rose, you guys.
V.Rose, what's up? How are you?
Doing?
We're great.
I'm good. I am excited that the weather does change in Texas, that it doesn't stay hot the entire year.
Yeah.
Finally get some cool air, at least where I'm at. So I'm happy.
Let me tell you something. So it's our... I think Stephanie spoke to you yesterday. It was our first time talking, and let me tell you, it's a pleasure to meet you, to just see the vibrancy. You look like you're shining. You know what I'm saying?
You're so nice.
I think you got a crown. Is that a crown on your shirt? It is. What?
Yes.
I love that. Girl,
thank you.
I know you know who you are just based upon some of the things I was reading here. Tell us a little bit about somebody might not know V.Rose, right? So
for sure.
What do you do? What's your thing?
What don't I do? So initially I am a singer-songwriter.
Nice.
I have 4 to 5 albums out. I always say that because 4 of them you can actually buy. One of them you can't buy anymore, but you can find it. On YouTube. From when I was really young, way younger. I have a ton of music out, so I've been doing and singing and traveling and all that for the past 12 years. But I just recently started a record label.
Nice.
Literally this year, and so it's called Indie West Music Group.
That's what's up.
And I mentor artists. I do consulting. I do voice lessons and performance coaching. I'm also an illustrator and graphic designer.
What?
Nice.
I did a lot of my own covers.
I'm calling you after the show.
Hit me up. And I also do a lot in branding and marketing and stuff like that. And I've helped at least 2 stores launched this year online, and so
wow.
Yeah, so
wow.
I do a lot.
That's what's up. What you've been obviously been doing music for a long time. You know,
yes.
I see here it says, you know, you love, you want to spend the rest of your days introducing people to your Lord and Savior and best friend. You added some stuff there. Talk to me about that. Like, why is that such a passion of yours, right? Because there's the cliche thing to say it too, but I want to know, like, are you genuine when you say this? Talk to me.
It's so funny that you say that, because when I was writing it, I was like, man, I do not want this to sound cliche, because it's so real to me.
Yeah.
But like, and I always say this, like sometimes when I'm ministering on stage and stuff, like, Jesus is my best friend, and he literally saved my life. Like the stuff that I experienced in my childhood, like I went through a really traumatic childhood.
Talk to us.
I have 6 brothers. I'm the only girl, and that's not even the traumatic part.
You're like, that's just the beginning.
we all go.
But we had a really. I come from a broken home, and we had a really hard upbringing where we weren't really prioritized as kids, and so, I just like when I grew up and when my brothers grew up, everybody dispersed. Everybody it was like every man for himself. And everyone was just trying to take care of themselves. And when I look back on how I survived, and sort of was like sleeping on people's couches and just and I was homeless for a while, and trying to go to school, trying to do music, interning at studios and doing stuff like that. It was my relationship with God that kept me from doing things out of my necessity. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's good.
It was like my relationship with Jesus that was like, no, focus on the gift I gave you instead of focusing on what you need or what, you know what I'm saying? Like mistakes that you might make because you're desperate or because you don't have anywhere to go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when I look back, I'm like, God, I should not be where I'm at. I should have went down this road. I should have been addicted to drugs. You know what I'm saying? Like all.
So you never had those complications being an artist and all that, like addicted to drugs or doing drugs or like.
I never had that, and I think it was because addiction is really heavy in my family. Like my dad was an alcoholic till I was 16. My 2 oldest brothers were addicted to drugs and in and out of prison, and so like my oldest brother just got out of prison this year, a few months ago.
Wow! I'm gonna send you my book so that you can give it to him.
Please do. He got saved, and I was able to help lead him to the Lord as soon as he went in 9 years ago.
Yeah.
So that's really dope. But it still is a big thing in my family. And so I always was like, I know I'm not supposed to do those things, so I really tried hard to like focus on God and my relationship and cling to that instead of like ever clinging to something else.
Hey, can I ask you a question? From the side of like, because a lot of times when we talk, and like, oh, I came out of prison, drugs, but you didn't. Tell us a little bit, maybe what it was like, being on the other side. What was it like being in a home where your dad's an alcoholic and the other people are addicted and you're not? What does that look like?
It's very confusing, I'll say. Like when I was a kid, I didn't even know my dad was an alcoholic, and I was very sheltered. And so I remember my stepmom picking me up from my mom's and going, so your dad's in rehab. And I'm like, what does that mean? And she's like, well, he's an alcoholic. And I'm like, no, he's not. Like I knew the term, but just didn't know what it looked like in a real situation. And then I started to, as I grew up, I started to look back at all of the like things that had happened and was able to realize like, wow, this isn't fair. This wasn't fair. So I dealt with a lot of psychological issues and anger and stuff like that.
That's good for music, though.
Towards my family. Yeah, no, for sure. And I have written about this stuff. Yeah. A lot of it. And I think that's why my music is so relatable to people, because I'm talking about my real pain, like my real experiences and stuff. But it was really confusing, like having my brother call me. One of my brothers ran away when he was 14. Wow. And then was in like juvie and stuff like that because he was breaking into cars to sleep and stuff. And eventually he ended up going away for a few years for that. And I remember he called me and was like, don't ever go to jail. Don't ever go to prison. Like, and just him saying that to me was so like, I mean, who else has that experience, So, and I just thought that was normal. Like,
everybody's
siblings go to, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Everybody's family is this messed up and like has this many issues and stuff. And so then I had to deal with a lot of that stuff throughout my 20s. And I was like, okay, I got to start unpacking some of this stuff because I've just thought it was normal, or I just suppressed it. So being on the other side is just as hard, I'll say.
I believe so.
Like having to have compassion and forgiveness towards your family for the things that they struggle with, or your needs not being met, or not, you know what I'm saying, and having to like grow up on your own by yourself. And so it wasn't easy for sure.
It's kind of wild, and it probably affected your relationships, right? In life, right? Your relationships probably because it's kind of how you saw. I believe every atmosphere gives birth to something, right? So,
for sure.
So those atmosphere gives. Even as a Christian, sometimes you're born again, but now you got to relearn how to think, and those atmospheres create certain insecurities, maybe anger, just the dysfunctional relationships, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, like definitely, like. I've been learning a lot about my attachment style and like what I really desire from another person in relationship, not just romantic relationships, but like friendships and things. And a lot of that stems from your parents and how you attach to them, and understanding that can really help. It really helped me to stop making the mistakes I was making because that's all I knew, and so like, and to become conscious of those things so I can like go to God for, joy and peace and security and identity instead of like needing another person to come and fill this void.
Wow. Nice. I know exactly.
And calling it what it is and realizing like I am just looking for this to be filled because I never got this as a kid.
Yeah.
And then just realizing that about yourself and being honest and facing that can be so powerful because then you can stop.
Yeah, it's true freedom. I feel like you have to. A lot of times we're like, if you continue in the truth, it'll set you free. Yes, I believe that's obviously it's a verse, so that's true. But I believe there's power in identifying the lie. Like you can know the truth, but if you don't identify the lie, then you'll keep falling for it. Because some of us have been told lies from people we trusted, and we took them as truth. So we embraced it,
and that's a hard place to be in.
Yes,
that's a hard place to realize like. The people that you really looked up to are still going to fail you too. Everybody's going to fail you because we're human and we're not perfect, So that's really why we place our trust only in God, because he's unable to fail us.
Fact.
So he's the only one. And like I always heard that growing up, but it was like, well, I know I can trust this guy. Or you fall in love with someone and you're like, okay, but now I can trust this person. And I think it's like you have to have that foundation of trust with God first, because then you'll be able to, like you said, identify a lie when it comes, because you know what the truth sounds like. You know who the truth is. So
it's good stuff.
I think, speaking of truth and lies, is that, like you said earlier, you have to be honest with yourself, and I've definitely had that experience to where, we might be able to, especially as believers, put up a front, to those around us, to the people that we're meeting, to even the ones that are closest to us, but once we're honest with ourselves, then that's like what you mentioned, acknowledging it. That's whenever you can overcome. That's when you can have real healing, real freedom, and all of that. Because you can fool everyone else, but what's really happening in your mind and your relationship with Christ. Nobody else is going to know except for yourself. So that's where you can grow. That's where you can change. That's where you can acknowledge those things and say, this is why I'm attached this way, or this is why I have this kind of relationship issue, or all of the above, because you're the one who knows your true thoughts, your true, heart and intention behind things. Yeah.
The real you.
The real.
No Corona mask on. No Corona mask, no mask.
Sure,
that's what's up. Hey, you know what, man? Let me tell you something. I love having conversations like this, but we like to have some fun and pull stuff out of people. You with me? I think there's so much value to it. Like I had a lot of fun interviewing. I think it airs this week, right? Portia Love.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if you know her. I am Portia Love, and so she's like, she's like, she's like extra in a good way.
Yeah.
And
a lot of energy.
And what I loved about her was really what she carried inside, which I believe you carry the same thing. It's just we know it's Jesus, but she's 29 years old. She's been celibate it for about 9 years. And it's funny because she was telling us, we were like, man, is that hard? This 9 years. I did that for like 1 year and I was like freaking out, I was sweating. And so she's like, well, she goes, when I go to the movies with my friends and like a kissing scene or something like gets a little heavy, she goes, I cover my eyes and my friends tell me I'm too deep, right? And then she goes, they're all like, you're too deep, Portia, and she's like, girl, I can't be snacking. She's like, if I snack, I'm gonna want to go eat. So
That's so good.
I just respect. Yeah, I thought that was like, because you could apply that to everything. Like, what are you snacking on, and then complaining that you're eating later. So that'll go. That'll preach all by itself. But so now I want to do some of those things with you, okay? Because I think it's kind of dope. I think it's kind of fun. And so everybody, if you just tuned in, we're rocking with V.Rose, and we're gonna do some of the This Is Real segments with co-host Stephanie Rave. We got Marco in the background. Everybody need a Marco, the media guy. Shout out to Marco, man.
Yeah.
And so, what are we gonna start with?
All right, so let's kick it off with Dear Younger Me, because you gave us a little bit of your background. Obviously, a troubled childhood, a kind of a broken home, and everything that you experienced with your siblings. But if you could paint us a picture of whatever age, right, that if you could go back and give young V.Rose a piece of advice, like what does she look like? How old is she? What was her life about? And what would you tell her, right? Because we have listeners from everywhere, not only in the prisons, but if you're just listening in your car or watching on YouTube or the podcast, there's someone who's going to relate to that.
Fact.
So what age?
Take us to the room. Yeah. Take us to the room. What were you doing? How old are you and what were you doing?
I would say I would go back to probably like 18.
18. Where was V.Rose? What was she rocking? When was she 18? Where's she at?
When I was 18, I was in college. I was going to junior college in Sacramento, California. And I had so many things going on in my life that I didn't understand. And so then I just didn't think about them. And I just tried to do what I think a lot of young people do, which is just focus on, well, what do I want to do in life? What do I want to be? Where do I want to be? Or I guess not even that, but I probably was focusing more on what does everybody want me to be doing?
Right.
What do my parents want me to be doing? Even though they weren't even in the picture that much.
Yeah.
I still carried that that guilt almost, or that shame. Like I want them to be proud of me and I want to be doing everything they want me to be doing. And I'm so grateful that I had a pastor back then who asked me a question. He was like, so what are your plans for the future, whatever? And I was like, well, I think I'm gonna go to Bible college and I'm gonna sort of do all these things. I was just sort of saying what I thought everyone wanted to hear. And he was like, well, what did God say? And
wow.
Yeah, God told me when I was 6 that I was gonna be a singer. I was gonna travel the world and tell people about Jesus. And so I sort of at that time, when I was 18, I started to doubt that. And anyway, that was the first time I was like, that's when I started to stop thinking about what everyone else was thinking and really try to focus on what God was saying to me. But if I could go back and talk to that girl, I would be like, go and talk to someone, find someone that you can talk to, whether it's if a therapist doesn't work, find a different therapist or find a friend, because there was so much stuff that I was not addressing, so many problems that I had and I was unaware. And it wasn't until I was about 25 that I could no longer suppress the stuff that I was feeling, or the anger or the sadness, or feeling like stuff was unfair in my life, not understanding, huge abandonment issues and stuff like that. And I just ignored it. And so I think I could have progressed so much faster in my personal relationships and things I wanted to learn in business, and just also loving myself. Self-love, I feel like is so underrated. It took me the longest time to really learn what that meant and how to have that as just an individual. That I know that if I would have dealt with stuff sooner in my life, I could have had that sooner. And it's
so what would you say? So what would you say right now? The younger you is listening. What you gonna say to that person? They're on the other side of the mic right now.
Yep. I would say go find just at least one person that you can talk to that will listen and help you work out the issues, help you start unraveling the ball of yarn that's in your heart, you know, and helping you to forgive where you need to forgive, helping you to just feel loved or consoled where you need to be consoled, helping you understand things that you didn't know how to do. Like, you know, I had to figure out like how to use credit on my own. I had to learn how to do laundry or pay bills, like so many things. Like, thank God for YouTube. It was like the big sister I never had. And I just, like, it came around at the perfect time for me because I was able to just Google, how do you do this, you know?
Yeah.
But like, find somebody that you can be brutally honest with and say, this is what I'm struggling with. And just don't be afraid that they're going to judge you. If they do, find somebody else, but don't give up on like getting your healing now, because you don't have to wait. And that would be my best advice to my younger self.
Okay, I got one more to ask you on the younger me. Okay.
Okay.
So boom. Now you've been in music how long now? How long you been doing it?
Professionally for 12 years.
Professionally for 12 years. And you started the West Indie group, right? That's your
I
new?
started, yes, Indie West.
Indie West. Okay, so check it out. So I want you to go to, because there's an artist right now, right? I want you to pick an age, and I want you to talk to the younger you about 10 years, maybe like you a year in, maybe 11 years. You're like a year in, you know, doing this thing professionally. And, you know, because one of your passions is mentoring and kind of artists and all that, right? Is what Stephanie was saying earlier. So I want you to go back and talk to an artist that was you back then, because there's probably a bunch of them. I mean, I watched it. You know, one of the saddest things is when you know, I'm gonna be 50, right? And so 89, I was graduating, baby, high school. I was like, yeah. So the thing is that I personally see all these BET things, and I see sometimes I love the true stories, right? Like New Edition and all them, and how they just ended up. It was just horrible. Like when you see them, you're like, no, these guys should be set for life. And you see all these horrific stories. And so I'm pretty sure that happens a lot in the music industry, even in Christianity. Because, you know, not everybody has that inner relationship. There's a whole lot of outer relationships, but we'll leave that there. But what would V.Rose say to V.Rose like 10, 11 years ago? Yeah,
like 1 or 2 years in the industry, you know, brand new artists just started.
One of the things I would say is, it's as cliche as it sounds, like be yourself and not the person that everybody wants you to be. And I feel like I was kind of saying that in the last segment, but like,
no, it's good.
One of the things that I learned is like when my first album came out, all of these opinions hit me like a ton of bricks. And all of a sudden it was like, I love you and you're my favorite artist. And then it was like, I don't really like her album cover, or she is this, that, the other. And like, she's Illuminati, like, and all of these opinions just started hitting me. And it definitely affected me, I think, because I wasn't prepared. And then as much as I would be like, I don't care, going into writing my next album, I would have that in the back of my mind. Like, okay, well, I don't want to do another Pink album cover, because then, you know, all the guys are like, well, I like her music, but it's just really girly. And I was just like, what? So, but I wish I would have been like, no, let me not listen to you guys.
Wow.
And just continue to make the music I like. Another thing that I would tell myself is to be the captain of my own ship. Obviously there's God, but then like let it be me. And so anybody that works with me should be working for me, instead of like telling me this is how you should dress, this is the type of song you should do, these are the people that you should network with, or this is what we're doing. Like I wish I would have been like, hey, I want to hire a manager that I can say, this is what I need, or I'll take this opportunity, but I don't want to do this one.
Right.
I just wish I would have took more control over myself as an artist.
Nice.
And been my own creative director, which is what I ended up doing and which is what I do now. But that's nobody ever came along and said, hey, you should be making your own relationships with people and other artists, and like when I put out my last album, a friend of mine came to me and said, "Hey, I was in a meeting with iTunes and they're really mad at you that you didn't tell them that you were dropping an album." And I go,
"This is getting real right now. This is getting real right now. Go ahead.
I'm like, iTunes? And so I was like, well, I didn't even know they knew who I was. And that just kind of shows how naive I was working with labels for so long, because they were meeting all these people. So now I had all these people who know me, important people, important companies, and I don't know them, and I don't even, you know what I mean? So that was something that I would definitely recommend to younger artists, is like, be the captain of your own ship.
It's
like,
really good.
Know what you want, know what creatively, what your music looks like, what your videos will look like, what your fashion will look like, what do you like, and then like, you tell the world. And when someone comes along and tries to change it, be open-minded.
Yeah.
But if ultimately, if it doesn't if it doesn't click with what's inside of you and what you know,
right,
have the courage to say, I'm okay, I don't want to do that. And know that that's okay,
It's dope. So, I like that.
And not succumb to the pressures of all the voices, that can come into your life, especially at a young age.
It's really good. It's really good.
The last thing I feel like this is important is find a mentor. Don't be so proud that you're like, I am so talented, I don't need no one to show me how to do anything. Even now, in all of the areas of my life, whether it's business or music, I have mentors still to this day, and I feel like I always will. There's always somebody above you that's been where you want to be, or that is where you want to be, that you can learn from.
Yeah.
That can look at you and see and remember being where you are, and will have something good to offer you. And so, especially when you're 20, especially when you're 19 or 22, like when you're in those beginning stages of really finding out who you are as a person, it's so important to have someone to help guide you through those areas of your life. So definitely get a mentor.
Look at V.Rose dropping some gems, man.
Because sometimes I think, sometimes with artists or just anyone going through like a career field, sometimes this culture will make them think that, well, I'm self-made, I did it all by myself, I didn't need nobody, and that kind of thing, when it's like, it's the opposite, especially as believers, we're a body of Christ, so we need one another. And everyone has different gifts in different areas. And you may be really talented in, I was going to say calendars, because I'm the calendar person, but you may be really talented in calendars, and the person, beside you is not so great at the booking stuff. So, getting those people around you and on your team, getting those people around you and on your team, is super necessary.
Marco, the media guy. I mean, it is. Yeah. There's body parts to this thing, and the reality is, I mean, even from a biblical place, right? Like you don't want a hand doing no foot job. Like, you know what I'm saying? You want everybody in the right role.
So true.
And that's important. So true. It's important. And be okay with them doing the role. If they're better at it, right? If the foot's going to be a lot better than a hand doing foot stuff, you with me? Like, the hand shouldn't try to jump into the foot lane. I mean, and that's really what you were saying is really important in knowing who we are and really what our gifts are that we should develop, and not try to I feel like that's where you thrive, because you're good at it.
Yep.
So I appreciate somebody with that much wisdom kind of, speaking into the lives of the younger generation of music. Hey, absolutely. And she said it. She said she mentors and all that. So reach out to her. How do they reach you, by the way?
So, well, a lot of people like to message me on Instagram, and that's probably the best way if you're going to reach me, that's the best way to try. But just like the amount of messages I get, I can't get back to everybody.
Yes.
But like, I also,
I had to reach out to you, and I put, you want a new car? And you were like, what? And then I got it. No, I'm joking. Hey, I'm joking, everybody. I'm kidding.
Stop playing.
I'm kidding.
But I am doing an internship right now. Like, I opened up an internship for my label, and so I still have a few slots that I'm trying to fill.
What? I think I saw that. You had a pretty good graphic where the person was like, right? There was a girl going,
yes, that was Kylie Jenner. Yes.
That was dope.
Yeah.
That was dope.
So, as a person, it was Kylie Jenner.
Yeah, just a person. Hey, that's how you know how lost of that I am. I'm like, it's just some person.
Yeah, but so, I am sort of mentoring the interns in a way, because I'm teaching, you'll be able to learn business and the way that I'm sort of running in my label, and also help build the frameworking for the label.
That's what's up.
And get out of it sort of what you want to get out of it. So I'm only taking on people who I feel I can also help in return with the internship and what they're looking
for. Oh, blessed to be a
Yeah.
blessing. Come on.
Yes.
Let's go to let's move to the next one.
I feel like the next one we're gonna go with is You Think You Know Me, you know, because
that's my favorite. That's actually now my favorite, but they're all good, but that's a good one.
So You Think You Know Me, you know, you were sharing a little bit about how, you know, when you started and they're like, oh, well, it's too girly or it's too this or V.Rose is like that. And even, you know, iTunes was like, oh, she's
yeah.
she don't want to work with us no more or something, you know. But a lot of times just based off of the platform that you have or how people know you, you know, they have these misconceived notions of who you are, right? And so they have, you know, prejudgments based off of,
big time.
You know, Pastor sometimes likes to share too, even if they did know you, but they knew you in a different moment of your life, or if they knew you, you know, at a different time, you know. So we like to give you the space to share, you know, and just answer that. You think you know me? You think you know V.Rose? Maybe share something that they think of you, and then tell us why they're wrong.
Yeah.
So one of the things, and it's not even something I really know, but I feel like people, when I first came into the game, you know, some 12 years ago, something like that, I came on the scene. I feel like people thought, you know, here's this white girl who never went through anything, and then like is putting out this music, and I got this pink album cover, and I'm really trying to find myself. I'm trying to find my style even as an artist. So I'm doing some pop, some hip hop, some kind of rock, and like really trying to find like where is my lane. And then I get like all this backlash and stuff, and I had just poured my heart out. And so through like that experience, I really started to try to tell people, like, to share more of my story, because it felt like, man, like you completely look at me and think you know me, and like I have gone through so much in my life. So I feel like number one, just like people looking at me and thinking that like I have it all together, or I had it all together, was just not the case. Like I struggled through my entire 20s, even though I was traveling the world. Like I still lived in the hood with my brother, and hearing gunshots go, you know, past my window. For a long time, just couldn't afford to move. And so like, you know, people saw the art that I was able to put out, but people had no idea like how I was like barely getting by, you know. And artists don't make a ton of money at first. So that's the other thing, is people think like you're super rich because you're an artist. Artists usually get like 10 or 11% if they got normal, you know what I mean? Labels and managers and producers, they get most of the money. And so you have to really grind and hustle as an artist. So number one, like I was working every single day trying to like get by and hustle and finesse. And then two, like I'm definitely more of a tomboy than people probably know. I think now I've been able to like sort of show more of my personality. But I had to realize even in myself, like I'm just never going to be that girly girl who, you know, eventually just dresses like in heels and like, you know, all of these fancy clothes.
Like they did to Lady Gaga in The Star Is Born. They kind of slapped her in there like. And
it's like, I'm just more like, I grew up with all boys. And so a lot of people don't even know that, like being the only girl, I'm a really tough person, you know, like I boxed in college. So I love fighting. Like my favorite. I play basketball. I'm definitely like a hooper. I got lots of skills.
Nice.
In that area.
Look at Stephanie. She's like, what?
I draw. I love anime. So I'm into like stuff I feel like guys are into, like, because I have a lot of brothers that have a lot of different like things that they liked. And so I would be like, oh, you can draw? I can do that too. Oh, you can dance? I could do that too. Oh, you play basketball?
So you can dance? Like you get down? Oh, watch out.
Yes. So
she's like, look.
No. I like to do it for fun, but and I have danced in a few of my videos, but I just
I'm teasing.
Anyway, so that's another thing. Yeah, I mean there's so many things. I feel like I'm even still learning how to bring some more of that out and let it shine through my social media platforms and stuff like that. But also I just don't feel like I owe people this explanation. Like, you know what I mean? I've gotten to this place where I'm like, I also have the right to have a personal life and not have to like tell everybody what's going on in my life all the time, or like show like that I have a life. So I don't spend a ton of time on social media anymore. I just stopped trying to like appease everybody and was like, let me actually live my life, you know?
It's really good. I grew up when we didn't have that.
Yeah.
I grew up when I didn't have any of that. And it was like...
I wish it was like that.
Times change big time. Because now if you don't answer a message or something, people get like offended. It's almost like... can I not be tired? Or can I... Right? But back in the day, if you didn't answer your cordless phone, from your house, you didn't answer the phone that you had on the wall. Nobody freaked out. If they, and they wouldn't even just come... Like, they didn't because they didn't know when you were going to be home. And they weren't like, you got to answer me right now. Because it could have been 2 days later. You could have been on vacation.
Satisfaction and gratification of like, the message is delivered, or they saw it and they haven't answered, or this. Yeah.
It's like you gotta almost respond immediately, or it's like it's like crazy, like you're guilty or something. It's like, nah, man, I didn't grow up like that, like at all. So I'm gonna keep it G like that,
It's difficult because it's like, how can I be expected to answer 50 people today? And get done what I need to get done, have my own personal time with God and space to think and dream and live. Mm-hmm. And also, every person you respond to, there's going to be a follow-up response. So it's really like, you know what I'm saying? It's not just one interaction. It's a conversation. So it is hard to manage. And that's why I take it and I don't feel guilty about it,
That's cool.
My time away, and
that's cool.
People understand. Eventually, they get in. They understand.
Some, right? You still got the battle. There's always this battle. It's like, that's. Though I love social media, but sometimes that's the part I hate about it. Because I get you. It's like, dude, I got 6 kids, and then I'm a pastor of a church. I'm like, y'all really don't get it. I'm like, I need to sometimes just sit at home like everybody else and not answer anything.
Yep.
Because I'm like, if you're still coming to me, then I ain't doing a good job, because I should be teaching you how to go to God.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's a whole, I almost went in rant mode. You know what? You think you know me. You're like, oh my God. You're like, whoa.
I need the soapbox.
That's so funny. Okay, we're gonna move on to our next one, because I think that's great that you're able to share that.
Oh, wait.
Decide what you share.
Yeah, but before we get to the next one, I gotta ask you one more question. I just kind of thought about it. So you were like, I'm boxing, I'm doing this stuff. What would you say? Because do you think, does that make it difficult for guys to kind of, right? You got what I'm saying? Because I know, like, I think when I'm a Force of Love, she was like,
she says she's like, really flamboyant. She's a big personality, but she was sharing with us. But she's like, no, I'm shy. So she's like, if I like you, I'm just like,
so I don't talk to nobody. I talk to you. So that makes it difficult. She goes, I feel like that sometimes makes it difficult to kind of get in a relationship, because they don't know me. You follow me? They think they know me, so they're so she's really outgoing. So why she ain't like conversating with me? But sometimes she's like, I really do want to say hi, but I'm shy, so
it definitely makes it, it's definitely difficult just being somebody that is in the public eye, like relationships, because a lot of men that approach me, I'm like, you're not even approaching me, because you're just, all you see is V.Rose, and I'm, I feel like you don't really know me. So then I'm like, what do you see that is attracting you? So is it like, do you just like how I look? Do you like that I'm well known? So those are the things I have to ask a lot of times. And then I'm not the type to like pursue relationships and stuff like that. And so I feel like any of the relationships, even if I was to get in a relationship, a guy would really have to pursue me. You would have to have enough confidence to actually ask, like ask for a conversation or ask.
That's cool. Now you might have tons of conversations. They're gonna all reach out. They're gonna be like blowing you up.
If you can't do that, then it's not gonna work for me, because I really like people who are strong, like men who have a strong like
we know where we're going.
Men, my dad. And so it's like, you have to be confident enough to come and step to me. And I think that weeds out a lot of people, honestly.
You're
just afraid to ask or intimidated. Like, it's not going to work.
I just saw the dude trying to ask you, and all of a sudden you just threw the gloves on the table, and you're like, get in the ring. What's up? What's up? If you could dodge this one. I'm kidding. Let's go to the last one. Man.
Yeah, no, that's really good.
That is cool. That was cool.
Yeah, the next one we like to call The Struggle Was Real.
Struggle was real.
Because we love to hear about, oh man, the struggle's real right now. Like, I'm going through this, or the struggle's real right now, I'm going through that, right? But just like you said, being well known, having a platform, having people look at you, and they like exactly what you said earlier. They see a white girl, they're like, oh, she ain't been through nothing, all of that. But I know you shared some of the struggles that you faced growing up, but with the struggle was real. We really want to share something that we struggled with, because sometimes people paint a picture of, whether it's a pastor or somebody on the radio or an artist, and they're like, they put you up high on this platform, and they think that person has never, they can't relate to me because they've never gone through anything. So basically, just share with us something that you really struggled with in the past, or maybe you're struggling with now.
Yeah, or something like recently,
Yeah, and so obviously with This Is Real, we like to have real problems, but we like to share about real problems, but give real solutions. So what advice, or what would you say to somebody that was facing that struggle as well, but like how you overcame it and how you got out of it?
Because most of the times they probably think you have angels singing in your room right now, and you float to the bathroom, and that's really, they're like, that's you just fly around, no trouble, but that's not the case, right?
Yep, definitely not. Oh my gosh. And that's one of the first things I tell people all the time. Like I had interviewed somebody yesterday for the internship, and they were just like, I'm sorry, I can't even calm down the fact that I'm talking to you right now. And I was like, well, let me stop you and tell you, like, I'm a normal person just like you. And I'm cool to work with and talk to. And I definitely don't, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't feel like I'm more valuable than someone because I'm more well-known, like that.
Yeah.
But I would say the most relevant thing, or the thing that was a really big struggle for me, was like celebrating my singleness. And this is something I feel like is not celebrated, and it makes it harder for the single people, like the non-married people, to feel like a whole person. And so it was something I struggled with, because when you see it on social media so much, and marriage is something that absolutely 100% should be celebrated.
Yeah.
It is always celebrated, like every day somebody's getting engaged, somebody is getting married, somebody's showing off their kids and their family and that kind of stuff. And then there's you. And it's like, well, I don't have any of that, But like, I got to a point where I was like, okay, this is so weird. Like, yes, I should desire marriage, or I can desire it. For a long time, I didn't desire marriage. I wrote a song about that on my last album. Mm-hmm. And so it was like, God, you restored this desire in me for marriage, or you brought this desire for me to have this, and then like it's just not happening for me. And so then I realized, like, God didn't create me as, so that was the struggle. The struggle is like, how do I remain content, or even see a life feeling fulfilled in my singleness, and feel like I'm not less of a person because I'm not married, and I'm not unstable because I'm not married. You know what I mean? Like all of these things. And so how I really came to that conclusion was, number one, spending time with God and really asking and like taking these concerns to God in prayer. And one of the things God showed me is, number one, I didn't make you as a group for a reason. Mm-hmm. Like God created us as individuals, and so God doesn't mess up. God made me right, and also God gave me everything I need in this person. And so I have to learn to celebrate that and not look at myself as less than. So I had to stop looking at God's creation, which is me, as not a whole thing, and had to just really shift my perspective to see, like, okay, number one, God made me an individual, standalone, don't need, you know what I'm saying? Like Paul even says you can like get married, but you don't have to. And so, not to say that I don't desire marriage. I do, but I think in this season of not being married, it shouldn't just be the only thing I focus on. And so I had to shift my focus to, okay, well, what do I focus on in singleness? And so one of the things is like self-love, which is like relief. People always think self-love is like shining a light on yourself and being like, I'm so, this and that, and really celebrating how you look or whatever. But it's also about facing yourself and sitting with yourself and saying, where are the areas I'm slipping and I'm messing up, and then like really let's face and work on those things. So that's self-love. And then the other thing is, your relationship with Jesus, getting a vision for your life and your future, if it's just you and God till you're 80 years old, you know what I mean? And not, of course, not being like, that's what I want, but that's what I have right now. And so like, God, help me get a perspective where I can see a vision where I'm like excited about, just as much as I would be excited about having a husband and starting a family, even though I don't feel like that's my life's purpose.
Yeah.
God has purposed things in me, and it's not just to procreate, even though I think that's a blessing and like I want to have that. Yeah. But I need to also focus on what are the things God put in me, and let's go for those things, you know? Yeah, so it's like, so that was one of the hardest things, if I'm being really real, was to get to that place, get to that resolve and be like, okay, God, like, let me surrender my deepest desires right now in my life and help me, give me a desire for my future right now. And so it totally helped me to shift that perspective. And it's still a struggle. It's still something I have to walk through.
You can't snack. You can't snack.
You can't snack, and you shouldn't. I think you shouldn't. I think as a woman,
this makes it difficult, you know.
You should be like, you know what? I'm gonna go for like my goals and dreams and pursue my relationship with God and just be so like happy in that.
So good.
And I think that is even like more attractive than being like, well, I'm ready to be married. Somebody come marry me. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to sit around with a bow, you know, tied to me and just be like, I'm wifey material, come get me. I'm going to go and pursue the things that God has put in me.
Yeah.
And then I think marriage, like a husband and like that kind of stuff will come in the timing it's supposed to happen. But
I think that's the correct way. Yeah. You know, I think it's correct. You become whole, healed. You know, you're not... You know, because if not, you're gonna go relationship after relationship after relationship, and that brings destruction, and it's just complicated, and it's not supposed to be like that.
One of the things you said about, you know, self-love is I think so important too, because sometimes if you don't look at your singleness as, okay, I need to reflect on me and what I need to work on, what I'm struggling with, then I feel like sometimes your years of singleness or whatever time period it is are wasted because you didn't change. You didn't grow. Yeah, you were single for, you know, sometimes people can be single for years, but they didn't work on themselves. They didn't say, oh man, this is what I got to like really work on. This is what I'm weak in, and this is what I struggle with just in myself. If you were to have a relationship in the end, then it's like all that time went by for what? Because now you're going to have to deal with the things that you're struggling with, and you're going to have somebody else's life brought into that too, and you're gonna may cause pain to them, may cause, you know, all sorts of things, you know?
You know, for me, when I was this last time, I'm like, when I was incarcerated, and then I had to think which time, but this last time when I was incarcerated was really when I got saved, you know. The other times I wasn't saved, so I just kept getting incarcerated. You with me? But this last time when I was incarcerated and got saved, I was walking the yard one day, and I would look at all the guys like getting going home or getting like denials, and they're walking out. And so it was crazy because I was, man, God, when am I going to get out? I remember very vividly. I was like, when am I going to get out? And when am I going to get married? You know, I was getting older already. I'm like 30-something years old. You with me? And I felt like God said to me, Juan, until you can walk with me and be joyful about life, you'll never make somebody else happy, ever. Man, because you're going to look in them what only I can give you. You with me? He's like, you gotta. And so I remember kind of like, it's gonna sound crazy, but I remember reading Proverbs and going to the yard and looking at the ants, you know, because I was like, I just wanted to see creation and looking at trees, and I got like real like that, you know, because I wanted to just like enjoy, and it did, man. I actually have an incredible spouse right now, and I believe like I'm not looking from her what only God can give me. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I do everything still unto the Lord. I go, man, you know, it just saves. Because if I just do it for... See, I used to always think, man, I'm going to do everything for her. The problem with that is that when she's flawed, so when she messes up, then I'm like, well, I'll show her. I ain't going to take her, you know. That's what happens. Yeah. But when I still work on, like, if just me and my relationship that I practiced in my singleness... when I still do things unto the Lord, she becomes a byproduct of that blessing. You follow me? But it doesn't matter if she's up, down, sideways. If we just had an argument, I'm still going to love her because I'm still operating out of my relationship with God. She's just a blessing because she's with me.
Yep.
You know, and I think it just changes the game.
Mercy, like in relationship. I just heard Pastor Darius Daniel say this morning on Instagram. He said,
relationship intelligence.
You have to have love and mercy, which is what God extends to us. And so it's like when we fail Him in our attempts to love him, he has mercy, and that's how we should do the same thing in our relationships.
Yeah,
so when we don't feel love, or when we're not being loved correctly, then we extend mercy, and that's another shade of God's love, really.
Absolutely.
So good, man. V.Rose, you are hitting all the truths. No, for real.
No, we could have started with this one and did a singleness.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to bring you down one day. I just wrote this thing like a little thought. You know, I was thinking I'm going to do like a little conference or something that says, let's celebrate I'm single. But guess what? V.Rose, thank you so much for being with us. We're super excited
such a joy.
about everything that you're doing. Remember, folks, that she said, stop doubting the words God gave you. Remember that in Romans 8:28 says, and we know, come on, that God causes all things to work together for those who love God and are called according to his purpose. So don't forget, he has a promise for you. Receive that thing. Hold on to it. Juan Martinez from This Is Real.
And I'm Stephanie Rave, and we're so glad you joined us. If you enjoyed the show, be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and turn on your notification bell so you get notified every single time we have a new episode.
And don't forget, in Houston, Texas, on 100.7 FM, every single Saturday night, we're on the airwaves from 6:30 to 7:30, man, with real people, real problems, real solutions. The show is rocking.
Amen.
But not only that, not only is the show rocking, we're also reaching 53 cities, 51 state and county jails and prisons. And what we're doing is we're bringing the word to them. We're bringing them some laughter and some good times and some fire.
Amen.
And so for that, we need some partners. So if you want to partner with us, please click on the link below.
And don't forget to follow us on social media, #ThisIsReal, or on any other platforms, Pastor Juan Martinez.
Hey, that's a wrap. Peace.